War isn't just something that happens far away. It's a force that rips through lives, erases futures, and takes away basic human rights. I spoke to three people: a child who lived through the Gulf War, a CEO trapped in Myanmar during a civil coup, and a boy born into a war torn Uganda. Through them, we see how conflict doesn't just break buildings, it breaks the right to feel safe, to be heard, to be free.
On the particular day when the attack happened, which was the 1st of September, we were going for a swimming class, and I distinctly remember we reaching our swimming class and my dad immediately coming in the car and picking us up, and we were really like shocked to see him there. And then he told us that Kuwait has been attacked. At that point of time, we were really like fearful, and we felt like, oh my god, what attack, are we going to get killed?
For the first week or 10 days, till the time the peace protests were peaceful, things were still okay. But then the military started moving in, cracking down on the protesters who were doing peaceful processions. Then it started becoming more and more serious.
We had a neighbor who had a farm, and he was suspected of supporting the rebels. And the story that I heard the most growing up is that he was driving past our gate one day around the time of my birth, and he was attacked by rebels, and they blew up his vehicle with a bazooka right there.
No warning, no time. One day you have the right to choose your day, the next you're told to run. The right to peace gone in a moment.
We were on the 7th floor, and we were very close to the sea shore. So over there, we could see when we looked out that there was a lot of movement of, like army and tanks on the roads. And they were kind of just getting a hold of the country. And the first things that we noticed that really were destroyed by the Iraqis were actually all the telecommunication towers. So all the telecommunication from Kuwait to the outside countries was blocked immediately. We were really cut off from the rest of the world.
We played as children near walls that had bullet holes. At one point, we had to flee our neighborhood because it was pretty dangerous, and we moved into another neighborhood that was a little bit safer.
They were firing on the streets by the armed forces regularly on a day-to-day basis. So Kavya, my daughter, got pretty scared because you could every day almost hear gunshots being fired.
Freedom of information, freedom to speak, freedom to go outside without fear. These aren't luxuries, they're rights, until war takes them. We think of money, food, movement as everyday things, but these are rights too. The right to earn, to eat, to move freely. Conflict makes you line up for things you once held in your hand.
You could just not venture out. I mean, it was not safe to go out after it. The military was conducting raids everywhere. You were afraid that you will get caught in the crossfire. In fact, even day-to-day provisions like making vegetables and rice, it was becoming difficult. Prices started going up. Very simple things like going to the bank, taking out money became more of a privilege than something that you just take it for granted.
The day the country was attacked, the Kuwaiti dinar, which is the currency of the country, just did not exist. Like you have this currency in your hand but has no value. The currency is no more. Yes, it no more trades anywhere. So basically you have these dinars with you and it doesn't really mean anything. So if you have to purchase anything from that point onwards, you had to either get dollars or Iraqi dinars. Luckily, we had cash at home. But what happened to the people who didn't have cash at home? For them, it was an even bigger problem because all the banks were completely shut. And every day you were allowed to remove only a certain amount, a very small amount, like 50 or 100 Kuwaiti dinars per day. There were long queues, and we could see from our balcony because there was a bank ATM close to my house also. There was a market in that. There were huge queues every day in the morning. People had to line up, get some money out, go home, next day come again, line up, do the same thing over and over again till they had enough money to actually exit the country.
The right to healthcare, the right to survival. In war, even these disappear. And those who can't get help don't make it.
Healthcare, which you asked me about, was a big issue. And that remains an issue to this day because if someone was sick, you couldn't get to the hospital, right? I think I have at least one, my aunt's husband who may have he may have survived if he had been able to access medical care, and he couldn't during the conflict. So there was a lot of that. And sometimes you could get to the hospital, but the doctors aren't there, or there's no medicine, or there's, no nursing care. So it definitely affected a lot of people.
Hospitals, yes, because a lot of hospitals were shut. Like, I do know a couple of my friends' moms, they were pregnant at that point of time, and they were really like unsure of what's going to happen in case they have to go into delivery. So there was a lot of panic around that.
In a war zone, safety is a right until it's not. You don't have to be a soldier to get shot. You just have to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
There was one lady working in a foreign bank who was caught in the crossfires, and she lost her life. I mean, she was just coming back from the, from office in a car. The military thought there was some resistance fighters in the car, and they opened fire. So it was just a confusion.
If you can leave, you are lucky, as those who had no option faced a new set of normal in the conflict zone.
There was starvation. There was a lot of crisis in there because you cannot grow food, you cannot access food, you cannot go to the markets. So there are stories people have written about, having to hide in the bush. It's not really a jungle, but in the bush, in the forests, and then there you're trying to grow food, but then you have to abandon it when you have to move, and then so for people living in those situations, it was very difficult.
The right to be protected, not just by a government, but by humanity. And yet, in so many wars, that promise stays broken.
I remember one specific case where there was a robbery at our home, and my mom was on the phone, and the police would not show up. They weren't coming. They told her, we're not coming. So these similar things give you a perception of how people develop. There's what the law says, and there's how people feel about it, right? Do you feel that your rights and your responsibilities are going to be honored? And I think conflict defines that. Because if you tell someone that, it is wrong to kill, and they see killing every day, then they have a different perception of the value of life. We acquire more from what we see than what we hear or what we are told to do.
Freedom, safety, voice. These aren't special privileges, they're rights until they're taken by war. For those who survive, war doesn't end with silence. It leaves echoes and questions no one ever answers. There are no winners in war, only people trying not to lose everything. The least we can do is listen.